welcome back to another episode of Tech Pro Unicorn Podcast. I am your host, Michael Grace, and today we are joined by Ruslan K. We are going to talk about film. We're going to talk about startup businesses. I almost feel like I'm talking to the next George Lucas here because he's out to kind of revolutionize a little bit of how film production is handled and to help streamline that using technology. Now, if you think about the film industry, it really hasn't been modernized all that much, right? I mean, granted, we're using digital versus film, but he's like bringing software to the film industry, which to me is really cool. So he'll share all that and talk to us a little bit about it. He's the Chief Technology Officer of Filmustage, a technology company that's streamlining the film production process, which he'll share using neural network technology. With 10 years of development experience, Ruslan has been able to develop the Filmustage technology to automate the script breakdown process, a painstaking task that is necessary in the production industry. He's also a lifelong musician. He's well-versed in sound design, and he can talk to us as well about the changes that are currently happening in the global film industry, which I'm sure we're going to touch on. So, Ruslan, thank you so much for joining us here on the podcast.
Thank you, Michael, for this very warm welcome. I want to say hello to every listener. Thank you for listening to this podcast, and thank you for your interest. I'm more than happy to tell you my story and more about the company, filmmaking world as we see it, and what the future going to bring to us. That's it.
Awesome. So you're a technologist by training and by trade, and then you saw an opportunity to bring technology into the film industry. Talk to me a little bit about how, as a developer, you kind of saw this opportunity to pair the film industry and technology together.
Okay. It's a long story. Actually, it began at the very end of 2018, I believe, when I met my old friend Igor, who currently the CEO of a company. Actually, we have three co-founders in Filmustage.
Okay.
Igor, Ruslan, who's me, and Andrei, who's like more responsible for backend and stuff. So we have like two technical co-founders, and Igor, he's a very experienced filmmaker. Basically, he spent like 10 years on film sets, filming all sorts of videos, movies, and stuff. So he had a trip to US to work on actual filming sets in California to understand how the processes works and how the shooting routine works in the US and in real world is pretty much different from the Eastern European approach and the United States, obviously, because we all of us are from Eastern Europe. And during this research, it became quite clear that the processes are not that advanced as we expected to see it. People still depend on not really advanced software, which is actually kind of outdated. Most of them became literally unchanged from 1982 because it became so widely adopted among professionals, and they still use it. So it's like a standard. And we see the opportunity here, like we can optimize the pre-production in so many ways to do it time-consuming, money-consuming, and everything, and help to make movies happen quickly. So basically, filmmaking is made of three main parts. Like pre-production, it's like when you plan how you're going to execute everything. So how you going to make it happen. So actually, filmmaking begins when you have your screenplay. When screenplay is ready, when it's approved, you're ready to roll. So this is when pre-production starts. Okay, then you planned everything. Time for production, actually, when you shoot stuff, when you gather everyone together, actors do this thing on the stage, director shouts really loud and yells at everyone, okay, the material is ready, then it's time to do post-production, when you assemble the final product and make it ready to view in cinema. So that's basically how it works. We took the very first part of it, pre-production. This is the most crucial part when you organize everyone. When you plan everything, you create schedules. When you create task lists, basically for every professional on your set. When you create your budget, when you basically understand how much money you need to make it happen, and then usually you go to and pitch to find actually funding for your project. So, and the very first step of this is called script breakdown. So literally you take your screenplay, which is usually like for a full length movie, it's around 100 pages long textual document, which is, needs to be processed by a real person to read through it, basically find every mention of actor, say props, vehicles, sound effects, and all the small little details, more than 15 categories of various meaningful words or sequences, and that's it. Then you put it somewhere else, and then on top of it, you calculate the amount of money you need to maybe rent someone, hire your professionals, hire actors. That's it, and that's it. And then you organize it, and you build a schedule on top of it. So sounds like a very routine process, not super fun, and people actually spend like a couple of weeks on this only step called script breakdown. So you literally take your text and tear it apart, put it in software or maybe spreadsheets, or sometimes even manually you just go with Sharpie and just highlight everything and then continue to plan it somehow. So what we did, we understood that this is a really nice task for artificial intelligence. So there's a thing called natural language processing. So it's a whole set of problems and ways to solve it. So basically, you train the machine using neural networks. You train the machine to understand human language, and how we can benefit from it. We can train the machine, train the model to understand the text, the context, and extract all the valuable information out of the text for us. And we successfully trained neural network to do exactly that, and now we're able to build almost identical script breakdown in a couple of minutes. So it works super simple. You basically upload your screenplay, your PDF document or final draft document, some few formats to come, and we recognize everything using computers, and then you see the almost ready result with the accuracy like 86% accuracy rate for the best category of stuff for screenplay. And then on top of that, you immediately can do your planning, like build your schedule and better understand your budget. This is our approach. So we're going to automate as much as possible. Of course, always at the very end, there's a real person who takes the final decision. You can modify something, change everything, do edits, add something else. It's up to you. So basically, there's a lot of space for improvisation and to actually fine tune the final result for your needs. That's it.
I love it. You know, at the end of a movie, the credits scroll, right? And there's just all these people. The best boy, the this. I'm like, well, who's the best boy? I want to be the best boy. You know, there's all these people, and you're like screenplay review, and there's just all this stuff, and you're like, wow. You know, I've always thought like, this is painful to sit here for 10 minutes and watch all these names go by.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But also like, I'm like, where's technology in this, right? Because there's a lot of manual stuff. I mean, I picture before Filmustage, I picture right somebody reading the thing and then sitting there with a big pad of paper going, oh, okay, we need this building. Oh, we need to get approval for this. Oh, we need this. Oh, we need that. Oh, and they're just writing down this huge messy list, right, which leaves all this opportunity for error. And you guys just ingest a script, use natural language processing, which we've talked about on the podcast quite a bit before. It's synonymous with like sentiment analysis and things like that. In you're creating these lists, for those of you following along at home and want to like understand what Ruslan's talking about, if you go to just the letter U, stage.com, filmustage.com, on the homepage, the process he just kind of talked about, where you upload your script, you customize your list, and you start getting essentially these pre-built, you can modify them. But if you look at like scheduling, I'm looking at scheduling, and there's all these things in scheduling. If I had to like read a script and make that list myself, I mean, that's just tens, if not hundreds of hours
Sure.
of work and keying and data entry. And then I probably missed something, probably. Right. That's where the best boy comes in, because the best boy comes in and he's just the best and he just fixes it all.
That's everything.
Yeah, it's really cool because you guys are saving a ton of time, right? I mean, you're not writing the script for them. That's still where the art and the creative process comes in. But you're really taking that piece that, I don't want to say there's no value in it, right? Somebody has to go do it, but you're taking that manual task,
Yes.
and you're automating it.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to do, like to automate and cut the time on it and exterminate like manual routine job, which is usually not very interesting. Well, nobody likes like copy pasting text from PDF to spreadsheets. I hope nobody likes this. We definitely can. We definitely can do better, right? So neural networks and artificial intelligence is way to go. We can automate a lot because language models nowadays are very, very advanced. The machine understands a lot about human language, not only English, all sorts of languages. There are models that support more than 100 human languages, like English, Spanish, Russian, obviously, Chinese, Japanese, at the same time, which is super cool, actually. So the machine has already learned a lot about sentences, about nouns, verbs, and all the other particles. And basically, what it does under the hood, it's able to transform sentences into numerical vectors, and after that, you can do all sorts of arithmetic and vector operations on top of that, like comparing, adding, subtracting, and building all sorts of advanced layers on top of this. If you want to go a bit deeper into the technology. Also, this is a very fun thing. You mentioned the credits, and actually there is a company, the startup called Endcrawl, and they do exactly this. They have to generate end credits for movies. Super cool. I discovered them not so long ago, and actually, which is also really cool, as soon as our tool was already used by real productions and real professionals and real films, our platform is also will be mentioned in end credits, like
Oh, there we go.
production done, scout for Filmustage, and so on and so on.
Right under the best boy. I'll look for Filmustage.
We're going to be like I don't know, best machine boy. So.
Yeah. You mentioned training the model, right? I get a lot of questions because Google and stuff, they're like, oh, Google, you can use Google or you can use Amazon, and we'll do your natural language processing for you. And I'm like, it's not that simple, right? You can't just take a generic. Sure, it can understand, right? It can. It can understand what it's reading, but it can't understand, right, in the context of specific to films. A model has to be trained or created to look for very specific things for this industry, for this purpose. And that's really, to me, the value, right, is where you guys have invested all this time to say, oh, we're not only just doing natural language processing, we're it knows words and terms and all the particulars about the film industry, and it knows what it's looking for specifically versus something that's generic that'll just kind of maybe give you a transcript or such, but it isn't gonna do what you need it to do.
Sure. I can describe briefly how it works in real world.
Perfect.
What's the like responsibilities of a guy called data scientist? How what he need to do to build or to build the tool for his particular needs, or as we call those people, data satanists, because usually
Yeah.
it's quite hard how they operate with data and everything. And in this company, this is my role actually to do that data science and adapt artificial intelligence models to our needs. So, of course, you have really advanced natural NLP models built by Google. Also, it's called BERT. Also, you have GPT-3, which is also one of the most advanced language models in the world. So, what they do basically, they train their models in unsupervised way on big data sets like Wikipedia. And at the very end, the model is able to understand a lot about human languages, about sentences, parts of the word, verbs and nouns, and all sorts of things connected to human language. And
Right.
well, out of the box, it's fine-tuned to do very basic operations. Like there's a task called masking. Actually, this is the thing when you take a sentence and you mask one word out of the sentence, and then you feed it to the machine, and the machine predicts what word is with the highest possibility fits into this space. So this is a very common task, and actually, when you build something custom, uh, this is your job to understand what kind of problems you're trying to solve. How is it called? Because in the world of data science, lots of tasks are already named, and you just need to dive deeper and find which is used for you. In our case, this is the thing called name entity recognition, and this is where your job begins. You need to build data set to fine tune and train your model. So this is the most crucial and the most time and resources and money consuming step actually to build data sets for data science tasks. Building data set is like 95% of time and effort, and then 5% you just having fun and training it online on building a lab. This is it happens all the time because the tools are already exist. You don't have material, and this is your job to create material actually. This is what happened to us also. We understood the problem, we understood how to wrestle it. We started to build dataset. We took around thousands of screenplays, and started to carefully prepare it for training, build our dataset. It usually, actually, we build and rebuild our dataset every 2 or 3 months. Also, we use user input from the platform because who knows better what they want to have than our customers.
Right.
That's obviously. So usually it takes a couple of weeks actually to build a new data set involved in a side labor people who help us to generate data set actually. A lot of work.
It's I really appreciate that because you just kind of explained how to train. You connected data science with the training of the NLP process, which is really cool, right? That's a really cool just soundbite in and of itself. In the use of Filmustage, right? What are there competitors in the space, and if so, how do you guys compare, and what do you maybe do differently?
Yeah, competitors are always exist, and this is why we're in business because we see opportunity. There are money here. Let's get some. Let's get a piece of cake to us. So this is why we're there. And at the same time, we want to bring better tools to filmmakers. Actually, to as I mentioned before, save time on boring job and let's do more creative stuff. It's obvious. Also, The world changed dramatically during COVID. If you remember such a thing as COVID, like a year ago, a year and a half ago, everyone was super scared of everything. It's actually a hard topic. So the tendency looks like filmmaking is going to be less and less dependent on paper. Everyone want to go paperless and wanted to go. This is where we also see a lot of opportunities, like help people to reduce the consumption of paper, not to share everything on the real stuff, and build really nice collaborative platform with the power of modern technology. So we're kind of at the beginning of it. We brought the very first thing, as I mentioned before, script breakdown. Now we are building the whole platform on top of that, like bringing schedule, budgeting, lots of cool new features. I will tell a bit more about it later. Talking again about competitors, there are well-established platforms online like Studio Binder. They basically do exactly this. You upload your screenplay on their website, and you can do create all sorts of documents and planning and schedules for your reproduction. But it's all manual. We did the step further. We took the step further. We use artificial intelligence to cut time and save efforts on this. So we have, say, unique for the market proposal to our customers to save time on these very basic operations, and this is useful for people who value their time, as well as it's useful for newcomers, people who don't have assistant to do all the dirty job, or people who don't want to hire additional, say, line director or assistant or somewhere, or they don't want to hire a freelancer to do their script breakdown or scheduling or whatever. They can use our platform. This is super convenient because the average cost of this exactly job in the real world is around $1,000 for a single script, just to process it and transform it into some understandable shape.
Right. It's interesting. In my head, I was like, you mentioned like budgeting and budgeting for a film, right? It's not really much different than, say, a personal budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you were given a template that was blank, and they said, "Okay, go and create your budget," you'd kind of stare at it and go like, "Wow, that's a lot to think about." But a popular software is Mint, right? And Mint basically connects to your bank account and goes, "Let me
Yes.
pre-populate your budget for you with what
Yes.
we see you're spending where." And then you look at it and you go, "Oh, okay, now I'm 80% of the way there. Now I just need to make some
Yeah.
tweaks and adjustments."
Yes, thank you for mentioning this. Actually, this is a really cool topic because uh, what we want to reach, actually, how we want to grow our platform and how we see it in the future is actually now we have a really simple functionality to do your budgeting. You basically manually just input numbers you'll probably spend on different aspects of your production. But we're working on a thing called marketplaces. So basically, this is the approach to connect all sorts of vendors, like, for instance, actors agencies, props warehouses, equipment rentals, location agencies, to connect it with filmmakers at the very early step. So it would look like this. You just upload your screenplay, we apply a script breakdown on top of that, and immediately suggest you the suitable stuff, like maybe location sectors or props where you can rent it, how much it would cost. And if you have enough of this information, you can understand your budget. Well, pretty accurate, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm reading some of the testimonials too, right? Because oftentimes uh, software developers create software and they're not really so much in tune, right, with their
Mhm.
customers. If you read the customer reviews that are out there, you guys seem to be really connected to the professionals in the
Oh yeah.
industry. Talk to me a little bit about how that process informs your development.
Well, the thing is, when you're building a startup at the very early stage, probably at the every stage of your company, you need to be on connect with your customers. It's super important at the early stage because this is the only source of truth for you to understand what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. Because anytime you're introducing something new or launching something new, you probably have maybe not very realistic understanding of potential needs of your customer. And all the time you just throw something, test it, and measure the outcome and understand the reaction. This is why customer support is super important in this case. So what we did from the very beginning, we just include this small intercom feedback window to our website, pretty much the same as you can see on Zencaster or everywhere else. This is a super popular solution for this, and where our customer can type anything he likes or not, how it works, if it works for him, and we are ready to support our clients 24/7, literally. So sometimes,
Film production, I was going to say, is probably a 24/7
sure,
industry. I'm sure a lot of screenplays and such were written late nights at coffee shops
and also take into account time zones.
Yeah. You guys are supporting worldwide production. What you mentioned scheduling and budgeting kind of coming. So folks are everybody has to start somewhere, right? And I just love where you guys started, because you started with a very manual and laborious process, but then you mentioned that you're really looking at the entire production and post-production film cycle, and you mentioned scheduling and budgeting. As a CTO, how do you prioritize like what you're going to work on next, and what's kind of the future for Filmustage?
Yeah, I need to mention we already have scheduling, actually already launched budgeting like last week ago. So
wow.
So and also we just introduced this thing called reference boards on mood boards. This is basically the very first step going towards this marketplaces functionality I mentioned before. So at the moment, customers are able to upload the screenshots or photos, or just choose from all sorts of stock markets or stock platforms, or just pin all sorts of visual references suitable for their production. So basically, you start to build the aesthetics of your video product, of your film, and this is the very first step towards marketplaces. So, about your question, how do we prioritize stuff? So basically, we always on connect with our customers. We understand what they love on our platform, what they don't. We have a task and backtracking system. We actually use this thing called Linear for our needs. I don't know why it's not so popular. It should be way more popular because it's built with the feel of GitHub. Everyone loves GitHub. So Linear is very, very smart tool for your plan and everything, just a free advertisement for them. So and you just gather all the feedback, and this is how you prioritize your roadmap, basically. So we understood first we need scheduling. Okay, we released it. Then we understood that our customers need a tool, maybe very simple, maybe oversimplified approach for us as IT guys to do their budget, to just be able to sum up and calculate everything. Because programmers tend to sometimes do things in a hard way, and the rule of 20/80 works all the time. Like 20% of efforts give you 80% of result. And at the very beginning, you start with something really simple. So basically, listen to your customers, understand their feedback, uh, implement something, then test. That's it.
Right. I love it. When you read the feedback, people talk about just the ease of use, right? And the
Yeah.
user interface, which is just a testament to how connected you guys are to making this easy for them. I mean, again, back to that visual of what it must have been like before, right? People just poring over pages of paper and it's just impossible, right? Like I still write paper notes a lot and I don't use OneNote. And then when I go back, I'm like, this is crazy, right? Because I'm flipping through pages trying to find something. I can't search. And I'm like, what am I doing? Right. And I have to remind myself, oh, yeah, I'm an IT guy. I should probably use a system or a software to do this. And you're able to search and do cool stuff. So I'm sure there's a transition for them, right, to go through a change issue for them to start using a software like Filmustage versus their old process, right? But I
Yeah.
think the lower cost, the shorter time frame, right? Because ultimately the film doesn't make any money until it gets to release, right? So you want to minimize your time in pre-production and production and get to like, hey, it's out there, it's getting me fame, notoriety, and most importantly, money to pay back all these pre-production and production costs. Like, and this tool shortens that window, and you guys are just continuing to innovate across kind of that whole continuum of the
Absolutely,
process.
absolutely. And we have like real life cases how it really works. We had a panel discussion during the last Berlin Film Festival back to February
Mm-hmm.
2022, and we had a special guest during this event. You mentioned LucasArts and Star Wars before, and we had George Christian, who was an original set decorator of original Star Wars trilogy back then. Quite
Mm.
quite famous guy. He got Oscar for his work during original Star Wars trilogy. Also, he was nominated for spaceship designs for Alien, which is like maybe number two my favorite movie of all times. And he was using our platform actually to create script breakdown and make pre-production easier for his upcoming title called Black Angel. It's like a revival of his short length movie back from 1994. Now I believe he's turning it into a full length. And what the point is, he got no access to bottomless budgets in Hollywood. Probably no one has during this day,
Mm-hmm.
during today. And this is your task to understand your budget as soon as possible and go pitching immediately. This is exactly what's happened. We have a recording of this session, and he was like for 15 minutes telling audience how cool is that nowadays you can, instead of going manually through your screenplay for weeks or maybe days, you can upload it somewhere to some smart tool, which is Filmustage definitely is, and in a couple of minutes you get the result. You do some edits, fine tune it, and you're ready to go pitching. That simple.
Yeah, minutes versus weeks.
Yes.
It makes a difference, especially when the clock's running on other resources waiting for you to finish, so that
Sure.
they can start their job, right?
Imagine what happens if also the very popular case when the screenplay gets changed during the production. It
Mm.
happens way often, more often than you think. So when Mr. and Mrs. Smith were shot, the screenplay was changed tens of times during the production, and you get the updates, and you need to react. And how you're going to compare, how you're going to understand exactly what changed. This is the other case we think our system is very useful for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds like just the perfect natural language processing, right? Just like look at it and go, oh, here's all the stuff that's different, and then let me interpret that. Oh, here's the differences that I need in budgets and schedules and such. Yeah. One of the things I like about, I tell all my guests, I cyber stalk them while we're in the episode. So on the other screen, I've pulled up like use cases. It's not just, the best boy that's going to benefit from this. I keep using that as a humor element there, but you guys are affecting the line producers, the first ad, the VFX and animation studios, screenwriters, props, casting, location managers, and the payroll and budgeting services. I mean, you think about like where you guys are starting from, which seems like so small, but already you're affecting kind of all these people in the film industry and really kind of making their jobs better so that they can focus on more creative and important tasks, which is all of what AI, right? NLP, those of you that hear me rant about AI isn't real. AI is comprised of a whole bunch of stuff. NLP is a big piece of that. So really, you guys are really transforming an industry, which is very cool. The last time I ever thought like the industry of filmmaking was transformed is when we went from film and started using digital. Okay, that was cool. Mm-hmm. And then when LucasArts and kind of, we started doing a lot more digital effects, right? And digital productions. But since then, which was like you said in the 80s, it's kind of like, okay, if something comes out and you're like, wah, okay, great. Like there's no technology advances. This is hard to see because it's kind of on the back end, but you guys really are, transforming part of the film industry, which is really cool.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Absolutely agree with you because this is how we definitely see near future. More and more stuff needs to be done using machine because artificial intelligence is so proficient and advanced these days. We definitely need to use these tools to make our life easier. That's all about this because it's going to be more and more, ways to use generated content in filmmaking. Nowadays, you can do deepfakes, you can generate video images, and it's getting better and better. You can generate voices of long-time dead actors based on their past performances. You just gather enough samples of their speech and then align it to some actor today, train the model, and you able to generate voices of random people for your movies. It's super useful. So yes.
Yeah. When I just hear what you guys are doing with ingesting the script, the first thing that comes to mind, right? I'm a big fan of like sentiment analysis. I'm like, ooh, I would put sentiment analysis on the script and be like, hey, you think you made this happy, funny movie, but did you know that 30% of your script really has, a sad sentiment associated with it? And have the scriptwriter go like, oh, shoot, let me go take a look at that, right? Because I think it's just you guys are already there, right? You're already ingesting it and processing it.
No.
Giving that feedback back to the writer would be like really cool. I mean, you guys are just at the tip of what you're about to do, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I want to pivot a little bit to you guys starting a business. We talked about 3 founders. How did you guys go about, securing funding and going, all right, we got to make sure that we have a sustainable business here that can be successful and can continue to grow? Because that can't be easy.
It's getting to tough topics, right? So yeah, it's we're still a startup, and startup is all about fundraising. It's like 80% of mental power of founders is going to fundraising. You kind of thinking about it. It's a waste of time because you have your spending amount monthly, the thing called burn rate in startup world. You literally burning money on everything, like making experiments, burning money to Google Ads, burning money to going to, I don't know, festivals, someone paying money to a bunch of people to make it happen. On the other hand, you have a very limited money from your investors. Most of the time, it's because we are still in the early stage of startup life. We are currently in the middle of our seed round, which is like not round A yet, it's before. So we are still a young startup. And at the early stages of startup life, you usually gather money from angel investors, someone who's brave enough or maybe is stupid enough, but it's not about our investors. All of them are superstars from tech world. For instance, we have Yuri Monastyrshin on board, who was one of the original creators of Snapchat technology. So basically, he was one of the guys at the very beginning creating this messaging and engine. And people who believe in us and understand the possibility, pardon, the opportunity we can bring to the world and filmmaking, and that's it. So what I was talking about fundraising. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
it's a race against time. You need to be fast enough to do something happening enough to make your potential investors believe that you are probably right, and then you secure money, then you get funded. That's it. It's not easy. I must say, it's like you trying to establish connections with, say, hundreds of people, and you get responses from five of them, and you get funded by one of them. The numbers are something like this. So for every entrepreneur, for every startup, you need to start building your network. Surprisingly well, email is working because 90% of our communication goes through email. Then if you're good enough, you're going to see to have a online call or personal meeting, usually like this.
Wow.
So it's all about networking. So grow your network.
It's interesting, right? Because you said like 80%, and you could just see, for those of you not watching the video, right? He was like, oh, like it just the pain that the founders have had to go through to like spend all this time on fundraising.
It's up to you.
Uh,
It's up to you if you're going to make it painful or pleasant.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, it's just it's interesting because you said almost like 80% of your effort is around
Yes.
fundraising, but you're still a CTO, right?
Yeah.
Of essentially a technology company. So you
Well,
really have almost two full-time jobs.
exactly, exactly. It's not like 8 hours and you're free to go. I am doing a lot of stuff on the very late evening. Also, I wish to do more coding these days. Actually, because but now we're in the middle of our fundraising, our pre-seed round. Hopefully, it will be over this month. We actually today is July 6th, 2022. Let's see how it. Let's see in the future how it gonna be in reality actually. And after that, we are probably going to have a really short vacation because we had no plans for almost 3 years. And after that, I'll be back to uh, technologies again. We have a very detailed roadmap, what we want to try and approach, and how we're going to develop our platform. Basically, what we're going to bring new to our customers. So yes, it changes for co-founder. It's you usually you are not only responsible for one part. You're responsible for the whole business.
Yeah, yeah. Even though you're focused on technology,
Sure.
you have all aspects that you have to worry about. Well, this is very cool. Um, it's the first time that we talked about film on the podcast. I love, I couldn't have asked for a better guest to talk about film because as a CTO, you gave us just the perfect amount of technology and natural language processing
Thank you, Michael.
in there. It was very very cool. I learned a lot about. I learned a new term that I'm in love with, data sadist. I'm going to use that again because that was amazing. Data scientists and data sadists. That's just Awesome. A little note.
Also, there's a term data Satanist as well.
Satanist. That's it. Satanist. Yes. Um, it's just so cool. A little hidden fact: Ruslan's a fan of horror rock that I learned as well, and I was like, "What is horror rock? Like, I've got to go figure this out." And he gave me a couple bands to check out here in the Phoenix area, which is very cool.
Calibris.
So
Go check them. Go check them live. They are really nice people. Calibris from Phoenix, Arizona.
that's
The best
awesome.
band from the city, I believe.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. I know you guys are super busy. I want to just thank you for taking the time and joining the podcast, talking to us about about the film industry so that we better understand that, about running a startup business, having two jobs as a CTO and a co-founder, and giving us some cool terms like data Satanist and such to laugh about.
Can I tell last few words to our
Absolutely. Please do.
Thank you, Michael. So, thank you for listening to this episode. Also, I want to give a small gift to our customers who would like to use our tools for their own production. So, who want to make their movie happen. It's usable for scriptwriters, for producers, for directors, all sorts of professionals, as well as VFX studios, which was kind of surprise to us. So I want to give you a gift. The discount code, which you can use during checkout of our subscription on our website. The code will be Tech Pro Unicorn 30. It's like 30% off for every subscription plan on our platform. So please, we have 7-day trial, no strings attached. Go test it. If you like it, buy it with the discount. So I believe the discount code also will be mentioned in the details section on the podcast.
It will. It will. And the website will be down below too. So, as soon as you pop up the website, the little kind of feedback or chat box pops up, and Igor just happens to be there. And you can leave messages there as well.
Also, if it's a good time to become a part of our company, because as I mentioned before, we're in the middle of fundraising. So if you are an angel investor interested in technologies and filmmaking, you're looking for a way to get yourself to this wonderful world of imagination and dreams. So this is the best opportunity for you. We are fundraising, so we can send your pitch deck. Please reach me via email. The email is simple, ruslan@filmustage.com. Please feel free to contact me and I will send you all the details and we can have a nice conversation about movies, technologies, and the bright future.
Yeah, I think it'd be right. Not being an angel investor myself, I look at this and I go, it hasn't, like I said, it hasn't really modernized in so long. And here you guys are making changes that is saving time, right? Anything that saves time means that it's saving money. And if it's saving money, it's providing value. And if it's providing value, people are going to buy it, right? It's just that simple. That's how the world works. And we all know how expensive films are, even the small films, right? Think about the amount of people that are involved, and the amount of time, the amount of effort. They're all looking for a way to save money and cut costs and reduce the amount of time.
Do you have any idea how many movies actually, like not only movies, all sorts of video products started in the US? So usually you think about maybe a couple of hundreds of like movies and videos you can see on the screens in a year. But according to our research, every year in the US only, people start at least 5 million projects, all sorts of it, like full feature films, short lengths, advertisements, music videos, all kinds of video projects, and all of these projects potentially could benefit from our solution. So the potential is really, really big.
I love it. Well, cool. Well, Ruslan, thank you again for taking time and joining us here on the podcast.
Thank you for bringing me here.
Absolutely. Bye.